All right, well, welcome everybody. Today we're talking about coaching, and not just like Little League coaching or, but like actually it's become a kind of a thing, I guess. And so we're actually going to be hitting part of the mindset about coaching, some basic skills about coaching, and then a strategy to use for coaching. So we're going to see if we can get all of that done in the next few minutes. So first off, what coaching is and what coaching is not. So I have in your notes coaching. This is the definition from the International Coaching Federation, and they say coaching is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize potential. Okay, so the main component there is partnering that inspires them, inspires people for their maximum potential. Now, that's kind of the basics of what coaching is. Coaching is a relationship that helps spur potential. It helps engage and inspire for potential. So what it is not, here's some things that we are good. They're all good things. There's nothing wrong with some of these things, but it's just they're not coaching. So you have mentoring, for example. Mentoring is when somebody shares from their life experiences with someone else who's on a similar track as they are, right? So you want to be mentored by somebody, so you're going to come and kind of work alongside them. They're going to teach you things that they have learned in their life. That is awesome. It's just, that's not coaching. Okay, so that mentoring, different thing. Teaching, we know that. Teacher is someone who shares a body of knowledge with someone that doesn't know it, right? So somebody who knows something, sharing with someone who doesn't. Okay, again, very important. We need that. And there are times in coaching where there are some teaching moments where maybe somebody doesn't know something, and so we can help them. But that is not what coaching is. Okay, consultants are someone who are experts in a certain field, and they can help provide a solution. So you don't know what to do in a business, you hire a consultant. They come in, they tell you, hey, this is what's going on, this is what you can do, here's a solution. That is great. We need that, not coaching. And finally, a counselor. A counselor is somebody who helps others heal from their past. So you have a traumatic experience in your past, you reach out to a counselor, they're going to help work through that. Now, they might use some of the same principles, but that's not coaching. That's different. You have an advisor, somebody who provides advice. Okay, we all like to do that from time to time. This can even combine some of those other things, mentoring and teaching and counseling. But again, not coaching. Again, coaching is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize potential. A coach is someone who helps others uncover and act on what they already know. That's the majority of what a coach does in this context. Someone who helps others uncover and act on what they already know. The cool thing with being a coach in this context is you don't have to be an expert to coach someone. And this is kind of going to lead us into part of our mindset, some of the mindset that you need for coaching. All the other things that we talked about have in common is that it's an authority to someone else. So mentor, an authority figure to someone who wants to learn. A teacher, right? Teacher, student, consultant, business. So it's somebody with more knowledge, more skill, more experience, reaching down to help someone else lift them up to where they are, right? That is what we understand mostly with those relationships. Coaching is different. So those relationships are authority to underling, if you will. A coach is peer-to-peer. They're next to each other. And that's the main difference between. So you got authority, are those other models. The cool thing with coaching is peer-to-peer. Now, if you don't know that, you have to kind of get that mindset and think that through, otherwise you're going to run into some problems. So here are a few paradigm shifting ideas you've got from the authority perspective, and then you have from the peer-to-peer perspective. So the authority would say, to be helpful, I must maintain control of the conversation. If we're having a conversation, I got to maintain control. Person who's coaching, peer-to-peer, says to be helpful, I must engage without being controlling. It's not my agenda. I'm actually helping the other person in what they want done. The authority might say, I understand things better than the other person does, right? That's why I'm in charge. The peer, the coach, says, I have some information and the other person has different information. And so, of course, it's going to make sense for us to come together to learn that information. The authority might say, I must tell. I must give answers that they can learn from. A coach, a peer, says, I must ask. I offer questions that help them clarify, discover, and learn from and for themselves. So the authority says, I need to have all the answers. The coach does not need to have all the answers. The coach does not have to know the solution. The coach helps the other person find the solution. Again, coming together side by side. It's a partnership. The authority might say, I must own the results of this conversation, right? The results, good or bad, are up to me. Whereas the peer, the coach, says, I can allow the other person to own their results. And so that's part of the first process is understanding that mind shift where it's not, I am better at this than you, therefore you should listen to me. It is, you are the expert in your life. And so I am going to help you get what you would like out of your life. Okay, so I like to think of it like the client, we call it, client or the person being coached or the coachee, but the client is an expert in their life. The coach is the expert in the change process. So I know what this person, I know the basic principles of change. I know how the average person can get to where they want to go. So by taking those principles and taking that person's experience and putting them together, we can get that person where they want to go, which is really cool because I don't have to be the expert in their life. They are the expert in their life. So they come to me with their expertise, their experience, their life experience. I come to them with the basic coaching functions that I know. We come together and we create synergy, right? Where there's more together than there was separately. So that's the power of coaching. And again, we don't have to be the expert in their life. We don't have to be the expert in their business or in their decisions. We just come with the right tools and they come with their issues. We come together and indefinitely we can make something better happen together than we could apart. So a couple of things that coaching does, so you guys can write these ones down. Coaching provides an organic and not a mechanical approach. So coaching is organic. The beauty of coaching is it's customizable. It's very customized to the individual. So I don't just say, hey, everybody should do this thing or these 3 things, because not everyone is not everyone's the same. Everybody's different, everybody's unique. And so I can go to the person with coaching principles, but it's going to be very nuanced. It's going to be very tailored and very structured, very customized to what they need. So same principles, but unique situations. Another thing, coaching results in learning that is transformational and not just informational. So it's not just about giving them information, because many times they have the right information. It's about creating change. It's about helping them formulate that information so that it brings about positive change in their life. And then finally, coaching leads to both cognitive and behavioral change. So some things focus on one or the other. So you might have teaching, for example. Fundamentally, it starts with cognitive change, where they just want you to learn something different. Or some people really focus on mindset and making sure your mindset is positive and correct, which is good. Other people focus just on behavior. If you just fix this behavior, you'll be okay. The purpose of coaching is to get to the root all the way to the fruit. So we're working from cognitive all the way to actual behavioral change. So it kind of incorporates both, which is why it becomes so powerful. So again, clients are experts in themselves. The coach becomes an expert in the change process. So coming together, they can do really cool things. So here are a few basic skills that anybody can learn. Obviously, good coaches have these skills down amazingly, but any of us can start. So, and the cool thing is, guys, this is you can take this from a coaching context. Like, people make good money coaching, okay? That's a whole business idea. Like, I'm not expecting all of us to start coaching practices. The cool thing is, these principles, these ideas can work and help us in everyday life. So helping your friend when you're talking across a coffee at a coffee shop and they start telling you issues about their life, okay? These skills, you can slide that right in. Your family's having an altercation, a family's having a tough time. These skills can help in that situation. So these skills are not just for coaching, they are to enhance every conversation you ever engage in from this point forward. Okay, so here are a few of the basic skills that cover the most of coaching. Number one is question asking, okay? Asking good questions. This is pretty simple. Anybody can learn to ask good questions. Our questions are going to start with what. Most of good coaching questions start with what. Okay, you can put that down. The second thing is also how, okay? And you can do, what, how, when, most of those have a place. I would avoid the question that starts with why, and also close-ended questions. We avoid why because why attacks motivation. So even when you mean well, it's a threatening, it feels more threatening than another way to say it. So even if I ask you, hey, why did you do that? Even if I mean well, it comes across as a little bit defensive, right? People start getting a little defensive when they hear that. So we try to avoid that. You can say the same thing just using a what question. So what made you do that? Or what possessed you? Okay, no, you might not do that, but okay, you can usually get around that. Now, sometimes there are needs where you have to use that, but usually we don't have to. And then also we want to avoid close-ended questions because we're trying to expand our thinking. And if I just offer a close-ended question that they can answer with yes or no, we're not getting any deeper. So if you find that you're using a closed-ended question, you can always reword it to become an open-ended question. So that's something that, as we discuss, you'll get better at realizing, oh, that was a closed-ended question. Let me try an open-ended question. We want our questions to be simple, short, and efficient. All right. I tend to ramble with my questions. So kind of putting a lot of information in my questions. Learn to just do a nice, short, tight, efficient question. And again, some coaches, they're so good at this that they can get down to a root issue in a handful of questions. A question, something that would take me several questions, they can do in one because they learned the power of good questions. So honestly, just start by asking a lot of questions, and then eventually you'll find the ones that work better, and then you can learn to have an arsenal of good questions. The beauty with questions is that they are used both to open up and to narrow down. So for example, we can use questions to expand someone's thinking. So if they're stuck thinking this way, with some good questions, we can help them think outside the box and help them expand their thinking. But then when it's time to narrow in on a specific action, we can help them with good questions to narrow down. So questions are incredibly powerful because they can do both. And so it's just up to the skill of the questioner, how good the questions can be. Okay, so that's it. Number one is question asking. Very simple. You can learn, we have some questions for you guys. You can learn good questions and you can go right from there. So second one is a little bit harder, and this is listening. The second skill is listening. Now, that's not the same as hearing, right? Anybody with good ears can hear, but only certain people choose to listen, right? I like Stephen Covey. He said, most of us do not listen to understand, we listen to respond. So I'm listening to you thinking, okay, what am I going to say to that? Oh, that's good. Just stop talking. Let me talk, Okay? And that's not true listening, okay? As the coach, as the person trying to help your friend or whoever it is, it's my job to listen. There's a great quote. Not only does the coach listen to the person being coached, he also listens for them. So I'm listening for what you mean. And I'm asking questions to clarify what you mean to myself, but really I'm not that important. It's really for you. It's really for the person that we're talking to. We're trying to clarify what they mean. And so we're going to listen to what they're saying, their progress, what they mean, any seeming contradictions, anything that they might have missed from their perspective, where they just go blowing on by, but there's something really key that they said, they don't even know they said. And so we're listening for that. So I like to think of it like, maybe it sounds kind of weird, but we're both inside their brain walking around, okay? And I don't know what it looks like inside there, but who knows, can make it up. And so they are sort of touring their brain with me. And so what I want to do is say, oh, that looks interesting, what's that? Oh, okay. And now how does that connect to this? Okay. And so we're just trying to make those connections. And usually they're gonna say, oh yeah, that's something else. That's whatever. They don't even notice. But I think, I think that's significant. Hey, can you come over here and explain more? And then suddenly we realize, that was deeper than we thought. And that's just part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to just help them by listening in the truest sense. So most conversations, basically are like kind of 50-50. And coaching conversations are no different. 50-50 seems good. They say that good coaches actually talk 20% of the time. So in a dialogue, a good coach talks 20%, and the person they are coaching talks 80%. So this is kind of like the better you are, the less you do. And again, this makes sense if these coaches are really good at asking questions. They ask the right question that pinpoints that issue, and boom, the person starts talking. And then they help that person kind of navigate that issue. So this is a great acronym. It's WAIT for wait. And the acronym is, why am I talking? So as you start talking with your person, if you're really trying to help them and you want to put yourself in the coaching position to try and help them, as soon as you open your mouth, you can ask yourself, wait a minute, why am I talking? Is it to prove a point? Is it to prove that I know something, that I want them to know that I know? Or am I truly opening my mouth because it's the best thing for them at this time? And if it's not, then you can not do that. All right, and you can just decide, all right, I'm gonna save my words for a better time because it's about them, it's about helping them. So listening is a little bit harder, but again, anybody can learn to do it. We can practice truly hearing someone and trying to not just hear what they say, but hear what they meant. Okay, and then finally, the third main skill that we can learn is guiding the process. Okay, as coaches, we are guiding the process. So this is a bunch of different stuff, kind of like the technical stuff. But again, this applies to lots of different conversations. In fact, you guys have done this already. Most of these things you've already done, you just never realized maybe that they were part of the coaching process. So number one thing is to believe in the person being coached, okay? And especially as believers, we realize that there's actually three people in this conversation, right? There's us, there's our friend, but then there's the Holy Spirit. And as believers, we can say, all right, I'm trusting that the Holy Spirit is working in them and in me, because I need wisdom, and that we can come up with something really great between the three of us. But we want to believe in the person. We want to believe that they are capable, they are creative, they are able to discover solutions and act on them, okay? If we don't think that they can do it, that will come out in our behavior, in the words we say, in how we treat them. But if we genuinely believe, no, they can do this, they can change, they can get beyond this issue, then we can help them, and we don't have to babysit. We don't have to swoop down, and try and save the day. We can actually say, no, this is your responsibility, and I'm going to help you, but this is your responsibility. The mindset of a multiplier, someone who actually draws out the genius and potential of the people around them, is that people are smart and they can figure it out. And so if we believe that about the people we talk to, then our attitude towards them is going to be different than if we thought they will never learn this without me. Two different mindsets. We want to help them because they can do it. Okay, they are smart, they can figure it out. So a couple other things. We can offer observations. I don't necessarily, as soon as you tell someone what to do, how likely are they to actually do it? Maybe, maybe not, right? If you talk to them and they decide to do the thing that you might have wanted them to do, but you didn't say anything, but they decided, how much more likely are they going to do it? Okay, I forget the stats, but it's 3 or 4 times at least that someone is more likely to do something that they thought of than if someone just told them to do it. And that's the power of coaching. Now, the downside to that, seemingly downside, is that if I just help them find their own thing, then they might not do it the way I want, right? And I think I'm right, and I want them to agree with me, right? But that's wrong, because it's about what's best for them. So maybe I want them to do it my way, but they're not me. So maybe it's not the best way for them to do it. And I have to be okay with that. I have to understand that. But I can offer some observations. So I like to ask permission. So it's basically like, hey, I noticed something. Would you mind if I shared that with you? Or, hey, I just observed something. Would you mind is that okay if I shared that with you? And then you can just say, hey, I just observed, you were saying this, but then your attitude changed when you were talking about it this way. What do you think about that? How does that strike you? And they might say, oh yeah, no, that's fine. And you're like, okay, it's just an observation. I'm not married to it. If that didn't ring any bells, that's totally fine. We can let that drop. But it might be that they say, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Okay, and that there's an avenue we can go down. And so I'm okay with them shooting down my ideas because I'm not the person here. It's not about me. It's about what's best for them. And so it's kind of like I'm passing them tools. Will this help? Will this help? No? Okay, we're going to find the right tool. And that's my service to them. That's my job. So we can offer observations. We're going to manage the flow and the pace of the conversation. So we're going to make sure that they don't go skipping over things that might be important, but then also that they're not chasing rabbits and going down into a rabbit hole that really doesn't matter. So I'm going to try and help them with the pace and the flow and make sure that is moving correctly. Managing accountability. Okay, so maybe they need some help, and so I can help them, or I say, hey, who could help you? So helping make sure that they have good accountability. Encouraging them, helping summarize, offering feedback. These are all important, okay? Again, we've all done these at one time or another. Encouraging them, summarizing. So what I heard you say was, this is an issue, but then and we explain it to them shortened. And then they say, yeah, that's it. Or, no, not quite. Okay, then we gain more clarity, right? So we're trying to help them gain clarity. And then again, offering feedback where we say, it sounded like this, but this is what I heard. Can you explain? Tell me more, that type of thing. So that's kind of the process. Those are sort of the nuts and bolts of how to actually have a good coaching conversation and sort of what my role is versus what their role is. So we got that. Those are sort of the main skills. We got our questions, we got listening, and then we've got kind of guiding the process. And now we've got the strategy. Okay, so we've got some of the mindset, we've got some of the skills, and now some of the strategy. So the strategy, you can see we've got what's called the coaching funnel, all right? So now you know what to do. We're going to try and help them know where to go so that in any conversation, you can say, I know where this should go. Now, I don't know where we'll end up exactly, but I know what direction we need to point. And the basic structure of any coaching conversation is narrow, wide, and then narrow. So let me explain. So narrow is one goal. They have a goal. They have an issue they want resolved. They have clarity that they need. They have an action that they're missing. So they have a goal. So we pinpoint that goal. And then from there, we widen out to all of the options that they could use to achieve that goal. Once we have a bunch of options, then we narrow back in through our questions until we've got one action step that they can take. Not 2, not 5, not 10, usually just 1, because that's going to be most helpful to get the ball rolling. So in our coaching funnel, it's a little bit more detailed than that, but it's the same principle. So we've got our goal, it's narrow. We start with that one thing. In fact, with coaching conversations, as a coach, usually the first thing you nail down is what's the topic and what's the takeaway. So what would you like to talk about today? And then what would you like to take out of this conversation? Usually it's clarity about something. And sometimes those two questions take half of the time together because they're back and forth. Oh, I don't know, there's several things. And so you're actually, part of it is just helping them boil it down to one thing. So topic and takeaway. Now, you don't have to do that with your friend across the, having coffee together, but that's what coaches do, is they really narrow down at the beginning. So then from there, we explore. Okay, tell me more. What did you try? What worked? What didn't? Where are you going? What is important to you? What are your values? Then we go full throttle on what are all the options. This is where we expand our thinking as wide as we can go. What are all the ideas you could try? Okay, crazy, impossible, not you, it doesn't matter, because we don't know which one of them could trigger an idea. Maybe you have an idea, so you say, hey, I've got an idea. I'm not saying you should do this, I'm just saying this worked for me. You explain your idea, and then you say, how does that kind of prompt your thinking? They might say, oh yeah, no, I would never do that, but that did remind me of something completely unrelated. Okay, that's a win, right? They don't have to do it your way. You're just helping them expand the thinking. So once we have a bunch of options about what they can do, then we're going to start narrowing back down. So we're going to evaluate those options. We say, okay, obviously some of these will not work, but we keep pushing them and pushing them, because if you say, what else? You ask them, what else? They're going to give you 2 good answers, and then their brain is dry. So you say, okay, what else? And it forces them to think like somebody else. What else? What would you ask your friend? if he was in this situation? What else? Tell me one more time, one more. And you're trying to get them to think beyond themselves. And sometimes that last idea, actually, there's a kernel of good stuff in it that they usually combine with something else. And that was like, oh, that's what I needed. But you have to get them thinking big. Okay, so anyway, so now we start drawing down, we start cutting things out until we find that thing that they're missing, the thing that will work for them. And then from there, we narrow down to a time to an action step. And that's the final end of our funnel, where we're narrow again. We ask them for commitment, and then we make sure that it's the right and best thing for them. And if they are not committed to it, if they're not fully committed to that action, then we have to figure out why. And if it's because it just doesn't feel right, we go back up and we hit some more options and we come back down until they are excited about that action. Okay, so it's one thing if they're like, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I probably should. Okay, should, would, and could, those are not action words. So we say, all right, are you going to do it or not? Okay, and if they do, then great. And if not, we say, okay, well, what should you do? Like, what would be better than that? Okay, well, what I really would like to do is this. Okay, well, let's talk about that. So we're really getting down to where they start getting excited, where they say, oh, yeah, no, that could work. Yeah, no, I could see that. All right, yeah, right? That excitement, that momentum, we're listening for that. And then when we find that, we're gonna try and capitalize on that and make sure that they are committed to that. And then again, that's where accountability comes in. That's where we can help make sure that they have an action step and a good plan. So that's kind of the basis. Our three components. We've got some mindset, we've got our 3 skills, we've got our map, kind of where any conversation can go, because all right, there's a goal, we need some options, and ultimately they need an action step, because that's what's gonna bring about change, is you gotta have movements, you gotta have some sort of action in their life. So the cool thing is this doesn't have to be, it's not a formal coaching conversation, but this is a set of skills that if you guys learn to perfect, if you learn little by little to get better at, then you can apply these in any situation. And I can't think of any situation where coaching does not apply. At first I was thinking, yeah, but like, it doesn't apply for consulting. If I truly don't know what to do in their business, coaching doesn't apply. But you know what? It does, because I can coach them on who can help them with their business, right? So I might not know, but I can ask them, well, who would know? Who could help you? Where could you find that information? That's a coaching conversation. Again, I was thinking, if someone has a traumatic past and like a lot of emotional baggage, coaching really can't help that. But coaching can help them find the person who can help with that, right? So coaching can help them, all right, well, this is a more of a counseling issue. Let's get you hooked up. What should you do about that, right? So really, there's no situation where coaching cannot help someone in that way. And if you think about it, suddenly you have this really cool power where you can help by combining what you know now about coaching and about change, combining it with their story and their experience. You can provide some synergy, something that didn't exist before, by putting those two things together. So you've got a bunch of questions that these aren't like the perfect questions. These are just some starter questions, some ideas. I'm going to give you kind of a few basic things for each idea, and then a couple final points, and we'll be done. So you've got the 5 points of our coaching funnel. For goal, next to the word goal, above those questions, I want you to write the question, what do you want? Because really all goal questions are going to try and find that answer, maybe in a more unique way. But what do you want? That's what we are trying to get out of them. Learning, what do you want? That's that stage. When we move to exploration, a great thing to remember is tell me more. We're gaining information. We're trying to track with them and get inside their brain with them so that we're linked with them, so that when we can offer things that actually are applicable and actually relevant to them. Another way to say that is what's important, okay? What's important? And have them start telling you what's important. All right, options. Great question is, what else? So they say, oh, I could do this. What else? I could try this. What else? And so we just ask. That's a great question. That's kind of what we're learning, or what we're trying to find in the options phase. What else? For evaluation, we ask what's best. Okay, now we're narrowing it down. What is best for you? Not me, you as the coachee. What's best? And then finally, for action, what will you do? That's really what we're trying to find. What will you do? What are you willing to do? What are you unwilling to do? What will get you excited? What do you want to do? What will you do? All right, as we finish up, I just say be curious. The number one thing, if you can learn to be curious and really hear and really listen for people, people will love to be around you. They'll just sit with you and say, you know what, man, I just love talking to you. Thank you for that. And you're like, I didn't really do anything, but it's because you're learning to do the coaching without even thinking about it now. It's just part of what you're doing. All right, I had some coaching training, and these 9 coaching clues were part of my training. It cost me money. This is free, okay? So here's a list of some things that you as a coach can be listening for, all right? I'll read them quickly, but you don't have to remember them, okay? Number 1, offbeat or repeated words and phrases. Number 2, missing pieces in the story. Number 3, strong or weak energy. Number 4, inconsistent statements. Number 5, nervous laugh or sighs. Number 6, sudden, strong, or contradictory emotions. Number 7, assumptions or interpretations or limited perspectives. Number 8, inflation of roles. And number 9, throwaway comments. Now, I want you to take a pen. I want you to circle number 1, number 5, and number 9. These are my favorites. These are some of the, I don't know, I think they're kind of the best. Number 1, offbeat or repeated words and phrases. You're talking to someone and they say, man, it's good to see you, man. I'm so busy. There's just not enough time in the day. You know, I want to do so many things, but I just run out of time. You know, if I had more time, this wouldn't be an issue. I wish there was more time in the day, okay? That's important. Whatever they're talking about, you want to dig into that because there's an issue there. There's a limited belief. There's something there that's causing them friction and they don't know what to do about it. They might not even know that's how they sound, but you'll hear it and like, man, this person's on a repeat. Okay, what's going on? Dig into it. That is what they need help with. Number 5, nervous laugh or sigh. How you doing? Okay, that's important, right? Now, I think we know that instinctively, but that is really valuable, okay? Some people are just like completely clueless. Okay, dig into that. What is it? Okay, that's important. I'm gonna file that away. Okay, number 9, throwaway comments. Usually I feel like they partner well with a sigh or a laugh. Like, oh, yeah, sure, she went for that. Like, sure she would. Like, yeah, that could work, maybe. Okay, well, all right, well, that's important. Like, there's something, you know, when they say something under their breath, you've done it before, okay? All of us have done this before. And if someone was listening for these, they could have reached in and helped us. They didn't know. Well, now we know. So we can be the person for the other person. When they say, you know, how's things going? Yeah, it's good. Like, yeah, living the dream. Huh. Okay, interesting. There's something there, right? It's obvious. You know that, but you might not have known what to do with it. Well, now we know, okay? This person has a goal, we need options, and they need an action step. So now we can engage them. Huh, what do you mean by that? Tell me more. And so now, instead of just having a time where you awkwardly sit like, something's weird, you know, something's going on. Now we have the tools to be able to say, hey, I might be able to help them. And maybe we can't get through the whole thing, but we can maybe offer some encouragement, something for them. So you can be listening for those things. You've got some tools, you've got some questions. You can review these questions. You don't need to memorize them, but I would just encourage you to kind of know basically, okay, I know they need a goal, we need options, need that finishing action step, and then go from there. So my encouragement to you is to practice one thing, something, any of these things this week, something that you learned today, okay? Maybe you want to write it down, set an alarm, something. It can be even just a side thing that may not have been even part of what we discussed, but if it came to your mind, practice it, okay? I want you guys to get better and better at truly listening, asking good questions, facilitating a great conversation, listening for these cues, because I think this is a skill that every believer needs. Every believer needs to be able to leave a conversation better than they found it, leave a person better than they found them. So that is my challenge to you guys. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll go from there.
We're gonna do a really quick coaching session. It's not actually a problem I have, don't worry.
Laura, how's it going?
It's going okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. I kind of have a problem. I really want to learn how to pogo stick jump, and I can't do it.
Pogo stick jump?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Tell me more. What exactly is this? Where did it come from?
Yeah, so it's kind of a thing in my family. Like, if we don't learn how to do this, it's gone throughout generations. If we don't learn how to do this, then I'll get kicked out of the family. So
Wow.
it's kind of like a big deal. But I've tried really hard, and I can't figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is obviously very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like my family.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you do. Okay. So your family knows how to do this and you don't?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So what's the context? Who knows about this type of thing? Is this?
There's a few like societies, unions out there that teach it, but I haven't really looked into it very much. I've tried like myself, like I've just hopped up and down and like fallen over, but that's like kind of where it's gone.
Okay.
I don't really feel like I need a teacher because it's supposed to like be in my blood, like I should know how to do it, but
Sure.
it's not really there.
Okay. Now, just a quick side note: if I'm expected to find the cure for her problem, I will be very stressed. Right? Is that true? If I know she knows part or all of the solution, I don't have to be stressed. Right? Okay. So you need to learn this because it's very important to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So your goal would be to be able to pogo stick jump with the best of them for your family's sake.
Right.
Okay.
Well, for my safety.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, keep that familial
Right.
thing together. Okay. So, what have you tried so far?
I've tried just practicing my own. I've tried like having my sister hold my hand and do it. I've tried like different sizes of it. But yeah,
Not so much. Not much progress.
yeah.
So, who knows how to do what you want to do?
There's a class,
Pogo stick jumping class?
right? It's like, well, there's also, I don't really like classes. They're kind of boring. They just like tell you in PowerPoints, and I don't think that's really helpful. There's like a pogo stick league where you like pogo stick down the street. That's also, that kind of looks weird.
Okay.
Because I don't know what I feel about that. Like, not really in the cool people group. I don't know. I don't know what other options are.
Okay. Who, if you were talking to a friend of yours who was in this exact same predicament, what would be some options that you would offer them?
Oh man. Well, I might tell them that there's some really good videos out there. I might like find some other classes, or like just tell them do it, because it's kind of stupid to not do it when you have the options out there, I guess. It's better than getting kicked out of your family, so
I would say, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I should probably like just take the classes.
Well, that's okay. So what would be your ideal way of learning this? So it sounds like you don't necessarily like the classes, but let's
Right.
think creatively. What are some other options?
Maybe it would be something like taking a class, but then also getting to practice, so it's not just in like like in a place like this building.
Sure.
There's actually pogo sticks that I can jump on while they're coaching me through it.
Nice.
So
I like
maybe like a coach or something.
A coach? Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. What's another option?
Another option. I could. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
You mentioned classes, but you're not like a huge fan of classes,
Right.
right? Are there maybe books or videos, other ways that you can find something?
I guess I could study like the makeup of a pogo stick and see if that helps
Okay.
understand. Like, yeah, maybe that helps me know how to balance and stuff.
Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of some of those things, what would be like your favorite that you would say that would be one that I'd be interested in?
Probably the like get a personal coach, because then they know stuff, like they know what's on the PowerPoints, but then they also know like how to do it, and they can show me, and like it's not just my sibling that watches me fall off and laugh.
Also true. Okay. Cool. Do you know of any coaches like that?
Yeah, there's actually a few. I actually have a neighbor who's a coach. Maybe I could ask him.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So when would that be? When would be a good time for you to do that?
Well, he normally pogo sticks really early in the morning when people aren't watching. So I guess I could just get up earlier, maybe,
Okay.
and just go ask him then.
Just ask him. Sure.
Yeah.
What day? Do you know what day would be best?
I think he does it like every other day. So just maybe like tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is that something that you'd like to do, or is that something that you're choosing to do?
I want to do it. Like I really want to still be a part of my family. So yeah.
Well, that sounds important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that something that you're committing to tomorrow?
Yes. Tomorrow I'm gonna get up at 4 o'clock and go out and wait for him on the porch and hold his pogo stick until he commits to telling me
Wow.
that he will teach me how to pogo stick.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Is there any way that I can support you in that? Should I? Yeah. How can I?
Yeah.
how can I support you?
Do you want to come learn too?
I think I'm good, but I'll get the
That would
cliff
be
notes
really
from you.
supportive. Yeah.
Okay. That's.
I mean, you can always you can just ask me next time you see me at work tomorrow
Okay.
if I asked.
All right. I will do that.
Cool. Well,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
I have action stuff. I really like this.
Good job. Well, thanks. Good job. All right. Let's give her a hand.